Hey, what's up everyone? This is Snackbox. Hope you all are having an amazing day. Guys, in today's video, I'm going to show you how to get 25 mats for this week in Chimera. 25 mythical mats. I have two teams for you. Actually, I can show you three teams. Two teams that I ran myself, one on my account and one on Drew's account, which is one of my clanmates. So yeah, let me show you my team first. So this is a team that I used not on this affinity. So right now we have the force affinity, which makes it a lot harder to do, right? So we have Ephidus as our main damage dealer, and he's magic affinity, weak affinity, and that makes it a lot harder to do, right? So you probably won't be able to get the 4-star basalt unless you are very lucky with the damage, with his hits. Maybe you can not weak hit on the ram form, and you also have to be very lucky with Lydia's True Fear procs. And then on top of that, Sneak Track is also not really the best option to reflect damage this time around because he is strong affinity, and that means he gets weak hit by the lion form, right? And you can theoretically do them all with this team or with both of the teams that I'm about to show you, but it's very hard to do. And yeah, this time around, I ran this team like once, and yeah, Sneak Track, you need to be very lucky with the reflect damage. That was the only one that I was failing to do in my first attempt. But it's definitely possible, right? You just need to be a little bit lucky with RNG. Now, the second team that I'm going to talk about more here in detail in this video is this one. This is the first time that I ran a team with Mikey, Gizmak, Klaazag, Firo, and Sifi. Yeah, very, very amazing team, to be honest. Very easy to run, easier than the other team. In theory, if you hit hard enough, which I wasn't able to do here, you could also get the 4-star basalt, but I was only managing to get like 4.8 million damage on the ram form. Now with a higher Klaazag soul and maybe a little bit more damage on Gizmak, then it could be possible to do it, right? I mean, it's just a damage check, basically. And we have a lot of potential here in this team with higher blessings, better gear, and so on. And then the last team that I'm about to show you, this is a Galatir Fina team, kind of similar as the last one, right? Just instead of Fina and Galatir, we had Klaazag and Sifi. So as you can see, this can also get the 25 mats with Mikey as the main damage dealer. So yeah, let's get back to this team, and I'm going to show you how to do the trials on the ram form. All right, so here we go. Turn count 5. We are about to enter the ram form in a second. One important part here is that we don't place the unkillable the first time we face the ram form because we need Firo to die. Firo is our dual bot target. He has the lowest crit damage, and that is for a reason, because he has the decrease speed on the A1. So if he's the dual bar target, he will still put up the decreased speed if he takes a turn, right? So that was kind of like the logic behind it. But here I also can't, I can't have him only use his A1 because we need the perfect veil, right? We need the perfect veil to get the trials going. And that's exactly why I let him die, but I instantly revived with Sifi again, right? So that was perfect. Put up the unkillable. Now everybody's safe from the reflect damage. No one will die. And that is exactly why Klaazag is so amazing. Also, he has a 100% chance to place True Fear on the A1, which he will do right now, because he's counterattacking. Boom, True Fear, 115k max HP damage as well. Now we need the decreased defense. Yep. Placing the decreased defense and the weaken and the other debuffs as well. Now we have to deal damage with Perfect Veil on. We buff it with Feral, and now we're just going to go in with all the damage that we have. And that is pretty much how you do the ram form. Pretty straightforward. With Klaazag, there's not much you have to pay attention to, just a little order of how to use the skills, and that is it. Also, another thing that Feral does with, his passive and his increased resistance, we're pretty much resisting anything that the ram form or any form does, and that helps a lot to gain control over the fight. Another thing that I want to say is, Klaazag has to place the debuffs to deal damage, right? If he doesn't place debuffs, he's not dealing damage. So that's kind of the thing. You can't really extend the debuffs that much, right? You don't want to extend them that much with Gizmek, for example, because you kind of want to, you want them to fall off, not completely fall off, but maybe have one turn left and then have your Klaazag replace them instantly, and that way he can deal damage as well. So by the end of the first ram form, we are done with 4 trials. If we had increased accuracy, we could have done the middle ones as well, but we don't. It's fine though. So yeah, now as you can see, we enabled the dual bar trial and the stun trial as well. We're perfectly set up for the second time to face the ram form. So this is right before the second time we faced the ram form, and I actually did a little mistake here. I had the unkillable of Klaazag on cooldown, and that's why I had to do something else. So I swapped forms with Gizmek. This was very important because I think otherwise I, couldn't keep up the dual bar target. Even though it didn't really matter because I couldn't get it done in the end, but still, this is another way to survive the dual bar attack, right? So as you can see, also Feral is strong affinity, so he got weak hit, and that's why he survived with the ally protection. He only got hit for 8k damage, right? Now, as you can see, the dual bar is up, and Mikey doesn't hit hard enough, right? I also didn't build him with 100% crit rate because we have Gizmek, which provides a crit rate buff, and that way I could push Mikey's damage that much that he can complete the Viper form trial, which was very important. So yeah, ram form is about to stun. We got the block debuffs up from Sifi. Yeah, I'm just gonna place everything I can. There we go. We blocked 4 stuns. Everything worked out perfectly. Now we need to block another 3. And this is also, a little bit RNG heavy because if True Fear procs at the wrong time, you won't be able to do this trial because the ram form won't use the stun skill again. So here I was lucky enough that the True Fear didn't proc. Right, that was really, really lucky. And now it was just about, as you saw, I blocked the A1 stun as well. So I blocked 5 out of 7 already. Let me show you actually. All right, so the ram form is now about to use the A1. He attacked Mikey, as you can see here, weak hit. And we still have the block debuffs on Mikey, so he blocked that stun as well. And we blocked 4 with the first attempt, with the first AoE stun skill. Now we blocked another one with the A1, so we blocked 5 already, right? We blocked 5 out of 7. Now we only need to block another 2, which is easy to do because we have 3 champions that are not strong affinity. That means we will definitely get it done. But as you can see now, the True Fear is on the ram form again. And yeah, this can really mess up the whole thing, right? This can really mess up the skill rotation of the ram form and really risks to not get this trial done. So luckily, the ram form tried to use this skill, but it got put on cooldown. So now the ram form is about to use the A2 again. That's the AoE stun. And we have the block debuffs ready as well. We got it up. Perfect. Gonna use the A3. And now the ram farm just needs to get a turn. I actually had a Perch Shadow Relic on Siphi, and I was really hoping that it doesn't proc, right? And it procced. So yeah, I was already kind of like, oh man, no, it's gonna mess it up. But we got 2 stuns blocked. We had 5 out of 7 already. We blocked another 2, and we got it done. So in the end, we got the hard trial done. We blocked the 7 stuns, but we just couldn't deal enough damage to deplete the dual bar. As you can see, 3.8 million. I think we ended up with like 4.9, and that was pretty much all that I was able to do. I'm pretty sure if I would, push the damage a little bit more, maybe he will get a better blessing for Klaazag, maybe even for Mikey. And then I'm pretty convinced that he could do the dual bar trial as well. Now on the line form, it was a little bit trickier because here we have to get the leech going, right? We have to get the leech going as soon as possible, and the only way to place it is with Mikey. I built Mikey with enough accuracy. If he is, critting, he's ignoring 25% resist of the target, and that means we need to have the crit rate up from Gizmag, which we do, right? That was pretty nice. And if we crit, we are ignoring enough resistance for Mikey to place the debuff. And I want to place it as soon as possible. It's very important because otherwise we are too slow. We really need to get this done as fast as possible. So we place the leech. Now we need to deal 3 million damage. Klaazag deals like 500, 600k, something like that, right? With his A2. He's not placing any debuffs with his A1 on the line form, only on the ram form. But still, we have the counter attacks up. So he deals like 200k with his A1. Mikey like 400, 500k. And yeah, that pretty much is our main damage source here, right? And with the counter attacks, we have to abuse the counter attacks. Now with a cleanser, this could be much easier because you would force the line to attack us and maybe get more damage out with Pain Link. I don't know if the Pain Link of Gizmag works for that as well, but maybe it does. I don't know. I haven't tried it actually, but maybe it does. So yeah, we have to do the 3 million damage. After that, we need to place 10 debuffs, which is pretty easy, right? We have decreased speed, block buffs, decreased accuracy, HP burn, decreased attack, leech, decreased defense, weaken, decreased resistance, and the 10th debuff is Gizmag's Pain Link. So basically all I have to do right now is to place the Pain Link, Pain Link with Gizmag now, as soon as he takes a turn, right? And then we are pretty much done with this trial. And there we go, got it done. Now we only need to reflect the damage, and we got the Pain Link up, we got, Gizmag having the ally protection up, so he's really doing it very easily. Also, he is the weak affinity, so we will not get weak hit, and therefore reflect all the damage. Now with Sneak Track on the other team, if you get weak hit, you don't reflect any damage at all for some reason. I don't know why, what's the reason for that, but it just doesn't work. And yeah, by the end of this lion rotation, yeah, there it was. I reflected like 400, almost 500k. So let's take a look at that again. So here it was 58k from the first attack. We still got the Pain Link up, right? I think a good way to do this also is to have Gizmag to be your high, your Hunter's Gaze target, the highest defense. And that way he gets attacked all the time. That would make it easy, I guess, but it's not necessary. It's, it works perfectly fine without. So as you can see, we had no buffs whatsoever after the line form attacked with the A2. We reflected more than 400,000 damage. And yeah, so basically all we have to do now is wait for the second time to face the landform and, you know, put out the pain link. Also avoid to buff maybe. You don't want to buff too much, so you don't want to have much damage mitigation, so you reflect a lot. And that way get this trial out of the way pretty quickly. So Gizmac, absolute beast for this trial. Also the best option for this affinity rotation. So turn 25, we're about to go into the Viper form. There we go. Here we need to deal damage with increased attack and increased speed. The one thing that is a little bit problematic is that Klaazag is transferring debuffs from him to his target, and that, you know, fills up the debuff bar a little bit. So we can't really trash the debuff bar too much. We, you know, with Firo we got the decreased speed, but we also needed, I mean, it will be better as soon as the Viper form takes a turn, but we want to get going with our you know, with the trials, right? With the debuffs that we need to place. So we need to decrease attack, right? As you can see, we need to decrease attack and increase speed and damage the Chimera with 1.5 million damage within 3 turns, right? And we got both now. We pretty much got both. We got the increased speed, we got the decreased attack. Now we can, you know, start damaging. So it's pretty important to not fill up the debuff bar too much, so we can still place a decreased attack. Because if we don't place it, we won't progress on the trials. So now the Viper form is about to take a turn. We still need to deal like 900, 800k damage. I was debating to hold on to the A2 so I can use it for the next trial, where we have to deal 800,000 damage with a single skill. But I also thought, you know what, we have enough time actually. You know, we can just use the A1. So yeah, we got the trial done, and now we need to deal 800,000 damage with one skill. And just for you to know, so we have Gizmac in a protection set, we have Firo in a protection set, we have Siphi in a protection set. So every buff they put out, it's an additional damage multiplier for Mikey, which is needed, right? We also need the crit rate and the crit damage from Gizmac. And yeah, so that's why I decided to swap forms, put out the ally protection, because we got the other buffs from Gizmac already. And this ally protection will give me another 5% damage, right? I think I decided to use the A2 here. I'm not quite sure anymore. Let's see. Yeah, I used the A2, 991,000 damage, but that was my mistake. Maybe you already saw it. For this trial, you have to have increased attack and block debuffs. And I lost the block debuffs. I don't have it on Mikey, so it was a mistake by me actually that I did. I should have waited another turn. I should have just used the A1 here, waited for Siphi to get another turn, boost and buff the block debuffs, and then use the A2 of Mikey. That was kind of a little mistake here, but you know, it wasn't too bad. What was not a big deal, and then I was checking why did it not do the trial, and then I saw, oh, I didn't have the block debuffs. Foolish me, right? But that's how it is sometimes. You know, it's really a lot that you have to focus on, a lot of things you have to consider. You know, one little mistake, you know, I did it one turn too early, and then it messed up kind of like the whole thing, and it took me another 2 or 3 turns to complete this trial. But you know, doesn't really matter. We still have the second time when we face the Viper form to complete the whole trial, the hard trial to resist the 20 debuffs. And that's exactly what we did in the end. So here I buffed the crit rate, I buffed the crit damage. Take another turn with Mikey in a second. Also, I'm replacing the decreased defense and weaken, which is absolutely necessary to deal 800,000 damage with one skill. Pharaoh goes in with the buffs. Sifi another time, and then Mikey with the A2 hits for how much? Boom, 881,000 damage, and we got it done. So here we go. Before going into the Viper form, or before going into any form, I'm just putting up the counter attack because it saves me time. It saves me time because everyone's about to counter attack, right? Pharaoh is about to counter attack, put up the decreased speed, which allows me to be faster, to get more turn meter, right? More turn meter than the Chimera. And that is exactly what we needed. And now we can instantly start resisting the debuffs because we can buff the increased resistance with Pharaoh, and we can place the decreased accuracy with Klaazag, right? We cannot put up the block debuffs because if we block the poisons, we are not resisting them, but we need to resist them for the trial. So we can't use blocked debuffs here. And that was kind of a little issue right here. I mean, we resisted all the debuffs, right? All of them, but 2 of my champions got killed. That was really, really annoying. Really annoying to recover from, but I managed to recover in the end with a little bit of luck, I guess. As you can see, very close. But also, it didn't matter too much because by that was the last trial I had to do, right? So by the end of it, you know, I got all the trials done when I finished this one. So even if I would have failed this run right there, it didn't matter too much because all I was after were the 25 mats. And we already got them. Now, recovering from this attack is still good because now we can put up some more damage and get some more clash, but in the end, it didn't really matter that much because it's not a lot of damage, right? We are not, it's not a big damage key. This is basically just for the mythical mats. So yeah, in the end, we got 78 million damage, 1.4 clash. It's really nothing, but you can, run Ultra Nightmare twice, get 50 mats, and get the 1 key. Not the 1 key, but the top chest with 2 keys. And that was the end result. Klaazag with 22 million, Mikey with 44, Gizmak with 7. Maybe we could push Gizmak's damage a little bit. I guess that would be a nice thing to do. Here are the rewards. 25 mats, 25 mythical mats, 14 legendary, 31 epic, 34 rare. We got the most important part done. Now let's take a look at the gear. All right, so let's go over the gear for this team. We have Gizmak right here in a 9-piece protection set. Shout out to Chicken Noodle. Thanks for the help. I never used the Gizmak before, so the tips really helped. I would have probably figured it out myself, but it saved me a lot of time. So all I really focused on was to crit cap this guy, right? And make him as fast as possible in a protection set. He doesn't need anything else. Obviously, you want to maintain a reasonable amount of resistance so you can resist those debuffs on the Viper form. That is very important. And yeah, he had the Wand of Submission, which is, just for PvP purposes, and it doesn't really help for the stun trial. So that's kind of like a bad thing to have in Chimera if you want to try to complete this stun trial on the Ram form. He's completely booked both forms. And yeah, the reason why he needs to be crit capped is because, if he crits, then, or if the crit rate is at 100% or higher, then, his effects cannot be resisted and he doesn't need accuracy. That's kind of like the main reason. And then I didn't touch the masteries at all. These are just masteries for PvP. So yeah, like I said, as fast as possible, crit capped, fairly tanky, and that's about it. Then we had Sifi in a 9-piece protection set as well. She's the reviver in this team. 378 speed, 362 resistance, and then just HP and defense as much as possible. The Purge Shadow Relic comes in really handy. Why the Purge Shadow Relic? Because, she has really high cooldowns, 4-turn cooldown on the revive, 4-turn cooldown on the speed boost and buff skill, so she's using her A1 a lot, and that allows you to take many more extra turns, right? Now, as you can see, this Shadow Relic is not ranked up whatsoever, so it was just a 12% chance, and trust me, 14 or 16% is really a big difference. It really procs a lot more often. But it's also good that it doesn't proc too often, because we don't want to lose the block debuffs, for example. We don't want to lose buffs when we need them for trials. Completely booked, Intimidating Presence. So most of the time you want one champion with Intimidating Presence, you want one champion with Cruelty, you want one champion with Brimstone, maybe. It depends on the comp and, you know, the trials you have to do. If you have to fill up the debuff bar and you don't have enough debuffs, Brimstone comes in really handy. Or if you need max HP damage to complete a Ramform trial. And these other masteries, I haven't touched them at all. I basically just build her in this 9-piece protection set. Then we had our nuker, or one of our nukers, which was Mikey. Mikey in a 6-piece Merciless set and a 2-piece Zeal set, sitting at almost 8k, 7.9k attack, 224 speed, 70% crit rate, and that's because we buff the increased crit rate with Gizmag that allowed me to, you know, stack up more attack, and that way he can hit hard enough to complete the trial on the Viper form, right? We have to hit for 800k in a single skill, and for me that was only possible if I reduce the crit rate and get his attack up. 353% crit damage and 377 accuracy, which is perfectly fine, because if he crits, right, he is ignoring 25% of the target's resistance, not defense, the resistance. So he needs a lot less accuracy if he crits, right? That is very important. Erratic Coronet on him. I wish I had a Boss Slayer here, but I didn't. So if you don't have a Boss Slayer, there's really no good or better circular gemstone to fit in here. If you have enough accuracy, I don't know, you could use something like Invigorated if you have enough accuracy, but I just wanted to make sure that he's actually placing his debuffs, right? I wanted to make sure, even if he doesn't crit, that he has a little bit more accuracy than what he's actually needing if he crits. And yeah, I thought, you know, this is the best choice here. And yeah, completely booked. Nature's Wrath, obviously, very important, and Helm Smasher and Master Hexer. But I also haven't touched these masteries. If you want to, you know, commit the masteries totally to Chimera, then you want to go with this, for example. Heart of Glory, which adds another 5% more damage, because, you know, we have Leech, so every time Michelangelo attacks, he should be full HP. That would be another 5% more damage. Then maybe Life Drinker instead of Whirlwind of Death, and then also Cycle of Magic instead of Cycle of Violence, and then maybe go, you know, for Lasting Gifts as well, because he's placing that shield and increase attack, and if you have it up for another turn, why not? So yeah, that's about it for Michelangelo. Then we had the most important part for this comp, and that is this tank right here. What an absolute monster. I built him in a 9-piece Feral set, so he provides a lot more damage for Mikey. He puts up, you know, 4 debuffs, right, with 1 skill, and even 5 on the Ram form, so that's 25% more damage on the Ram form, 20% more damage on the other forms. And yeah, it's pretty insane. So I crit capped him too. I also wanted him to deal a decent amount of damage. He doesn't need accuracy. He doesn't need anything but crit damage, defense, and speed. I wish he was a little bit faster. Gave him the Erratic Coronet. I don't know what else to give him. I could have gave him the Shadow Relic, but, you know, I didn't want him to take too many turns when I don't want them extra turns. So I just gave him the Coronet. I thought that was perfectly fine, completely booked. He has Nature's Wrath. He doesn't really need it, but I also didn't touch the Blessing whatsoever. That was already made. So basically, I just put the gear on, and that was about it. So yeah, Masteries, Helm Smasher, that's fine, right? Life Drinker is also cool. Lasting Gifts and Master Hexer. I'm totally fine with these masteries. And then last but not least, we had Feral in a 9-piece protection set as well. Now, if you don't have another champion that is placing the decreased accuracy, we had Klaazag, right? So they're kind of doing, the same debuff. So we would only have 2 other debuffs. That means, we can just build him in protection and it wouldn't be that much of a damage loss. So yeah, 9-piece protection set, 316 speed. He's the ram form target, the dual target, right? So he gets attacked as soon as we get into the ram form. He has the Perchetta relic that was already on him. I didn't touch this at all, but it's a good one to have on him just to cycle this skill back right here. Increase resistance and perfect veil. He has cruelty, which also help with the damage a little bit. And these are the masteries. Theoretically, you could go with War Master. Doesn't really matter that much. And I also didn't touch those masteries. But yeah, that's the build for Feral. So yeah, guys, that's pretty much it for this video. Here are the 2 teams that I ran this week. Both of them can get 25 mats and more, theoretically, with better gear and so on. Both of them pretty similar in terms of clash. One is a little bit better than the other, but I guess that also depends on, weak hits and so on. But yeah, anyway, if you have any questions, let me know in the comments below. Also, if you're interested in paid takeovers, you can message me on Discord. And with that being said, thank you guys for watching this video. If you enjoyed this content, please hit the like button. Also subscribe to the channel if you want to see more raid content. The YouTube algorithm's going to suggest you a video that you might like right here, and see you in the next one.